Hello, 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 and welcome to Yappin with Yanna, presented by Bourbon Street Bookers. It is so good to see you. I am your host, Ayana Talbert. Most of you know me as Ayana First, and we have a very, very, very special guest. I know it's been a while since we've been here, but I had to kick it off with one of the best. Okay, so we have Millie, my Millie, as I call her. Selfish with that. But this is Millie Belizaire. Millie, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I just realized that your last name, like, I know I can see the Talbert, but I just realized that your last name isn't first.
First.
That's what I have you saved as in my phone, Ayana First.
And that is what most know me by. And I like that. And there was purpose behind that. Before I'm Ayana, anything else, I'm Ayana first, right?
I
And
like it.
so
I like it.
yeah, it kind of stuck, and I played around with it, of course, because of my love for Ezra. And so I was like, yeah, it's like first lady.
You and
But
Ezra, my goodness.
I am so excited. I have with me, guys, such a treat for you. Millie has been on the map for a while. I was actually introduced to her work from a recommendation by Love Belvin. Love Belvin is always supporting indie authors, and she actually had her book when it first released, Garden of Eden. And that's the book I actually came in on. Millie is an awesome writer. When I say I was impressed, if you've read Garden of Eden, then you understand. Garden of Eden, especially someone that is from New Orleans, someone that experienced Katrina. I Millie couldn't have told me that she didn't either interview someone or that
I've still never been.
she was. I cannot believe this. This woman told me she did this kind of research where she was so
I
in
wa
depth.
I watch documentaries.
It's amazing. Listen, I was quite impressed. So before we jump in your catalog, Millie, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. It is so good to see. I'm like fangirling over here. I'm like really, really, really excited.
Stop.
I have not seen my Millie in quite some time. And for a while during the pandemic, we had some time with her with the clubhouse, right? So you got to
I
hear
was
her
on
voice.
Clubhouse a lot.
But I haven't seen my Millie, oh my goodness, in quite some time. So it is so good to see you. So good to see you. So let me share with the readers, if you have not um, signed up for our Big Beads and Read, Millie was our last month's author of the month. And baby, she was in just about every article that was behind one of her newest releases via Kindle Villa. Um, 1 billion reasons.
1 million reasons.
Mr. Big Dick himself.
My goodness. What's so funny is like I have such an apprehension about writing the D word on the page. So like I even call it the D word out loud. But like I'm such a prude. You would never know it, but I am.
Let me tell you, I was like, oh, even Allegra says to tell you that was the shit.
Thank you, Allegra.
We enjoyed that so much. And I love that I was in a space at that time where I couldn't necessarily receive anything whole. I couldn't, nothing, not much was holding my attention. So getting it in bits and pieces as we did with Kindle Villa every week we got some, it gave me something to look forward to. So I was really excited about it because I was like, I don't like people to be reading ahead of me because they're fast readers anyway. My cousin Allegra and most of the group, they're fast readers. So they're gonna always go ahead of me. So it was nice to always be like, y'all read this? Y'all better get into Millie. I'm telling you, if you have not, you are missing out. Millie, Okay, so first off, we know 1 billion reasons. If you don't know, 1 billion reasons was, I'm going to call it a spinoff. If you're familiar
It
with the
was.
Sky series, right? Um, there's a sister, a twin. There's a twin in there, and this was the other twin story, Morgan. Without giving too many spoilers on the Collide series, but y'all, that's been out for a while, so y'all shouldn't. But anyway, that story, oh my, was something else. The Collide series itself. So to finally get Morgan's story, and if you read Fast, which was another release, you were introduced to our boy, and his name is Damien, right? They had so many different names, nicknames for him. But he was
Mr. DBD.
he was amazing. He came with his stuff. And of course, if you were introduced to him in Fast, it just seems like he was this big spender, big baller. But there was a story to him being this big baller. And what a story it was. What a story it was. So it's been a while. Well, Fast was, no, Be Mine was your last release before. Um, no, was it?
It was.
Yeah, Be
It
Mine.
came out February of 2021.
Right. So Be Mine was your last release. And before we got 1 billion reasons, did you miss writing for that period of time?
In that period of time, I would say that I definitely missed writing. Writing to a deadline is not something that I normally do. So like the episodic the episodic like way that it went kind of forced me to be consistent on a weekly basis with at least like three 1600 word chapters at least. And so like I was writing more than I've written in a very, very long time. And it was nice. Towards the end, I was starting to get inspired for a different project. So I was kind of like writing two stories at a time. And that was different. But before that, I was just lots of pandemic brain. So, I took a break from writing and then going back to it, I was a little bit rusty, but I got it back towards
Oh,
the end, and
baby,
that
you
was
got it
fun.
back. I
It was
don't think you
fun.
ever lost it, okay? I don't believe you ever lost it because you came out swinging. You came out swinging.
Thank
Honestly, you
you.
wouldn't even think you missed a beat. You would have thought, okay, yep, she took a break, and baby, she came out like, I'm ready for y'all. I got this. And that's exactly how you showed up. What actually inspired Morgan's story? We always knew that there was more to it, but what was the inspiration? Not just Morgan, because this wasn't just her story, right? Because typically there is one person who the story is about, but technically, no, this story was about both.
So, Morgan was kind of like my Lauren foil when I was writing the Collide series, because Lauren was kind of like my naive, very, very green type of character, very much me as a teenage girl. And so, like, her character was based heavily on how annoying I think I used to be, and people felt it. But Morgan was kind of like this worldly, like, girl, you need to grow up type of sister. She was like, you don't see the world the way that I see the world, and you don't see our father the way that I see our father.
Mm.
And I knew that there was a story behind the way Morgan felt about her and Lauren's father. I just didn't know it back in 2018. And then when I was writing Fast, I came up with this character, this mystery character, because he wasn't really in Fast, but he was in Fast.
Right. That's what I
And
say. Mystery is definitely it because I'm like, I must have missed that. He was this
but like his
invisible.
character, right, he was a benefactor. But like his character, when I wrote because like for every character that I put in a book, I have to write like a short description before I start writing them. And when I wrote his description, I was like, you know what he would be really good for? Morgan. And so I
Mm.
revisited Morgan's character in the Collide series, and I was like, they actually good. And so that's how the story came about. Yeah.
Oh my, when I say they were like everything, I love that they basically brought the best out in each other. It was like
They did.
he demanded a lot, but she did as well, on her own terms. I mean, even the way that they came to meet, y'all have got it's a completed series, it's a completed
It
episode.
is.
And so I know a lot of people were like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't wait. I want to read it when it's complete. It's complete. Okay.
It
And y'all
is.
been missing out. But and it got one of the top crowns, right? For
I
the
was really proud of that. I got a crown. Yeah.
yes,
I
which
was I
basically
was
said
like, oh my God, they came through.
readers were digging it. It was voted on. It was like, hey, that's it. That's the one that you want. So you what you love. I followed it. And it was so funny because my cousin would call me and she was like, girl, did you get the alert? I don't know what it is, but my phone was not set for alert, but it was in my notifications in my Kindle. So I guess if I didn't have my Kindle app open, I don't know.
Oh.
I was hot about that because I was like, wait a minute. Millie, didn't I just talk to you?
Oh, I would keep putting out chapters in the middle of conversations, and you'd be like, why didn't you say
It
anything?
was like, I released, and you never know when Amazon's going to open, which we've experienced, right? We've been experiencing
Right.
not knowing when Amazon is going to just release it out into the wild. So you wrote the Collide series, which was 4 books, and
Well, four, 3.5, yeah. Because the last fourth one was like a novella.
the holiday one, but it was just what we needed to know everything
They
was
were
good.
okay.
Yeah, because you
Hmm.
get a little bit of it in Garden of Eden, just a little, because that's what made me like get to a point where I was like, wait a minute, there's more to the story. There had to have been a story before this. And so I
There
ended
was.
up going back and reading that. And then just going forward, when we got to Be Mine, it gave us a little bit. But Fast was really a step back away from what you had previously written. What inspired
Hmm.
Fast?
Fast was inspired by Beyonce. I say that all the time, but like, not really, really, but like,
Ooh.
Dangerously in Love. I was listening to the song, and I was like, hey, let me think of a couple that would match these lyrics, and I came up with Sean and Caprice. But Coffee came like way, way, way before Sean and Caprice ever came. Like his story, his multiple personality disorder, the way that he was a character in my mind for a very long time. And when I thought of Sean and Caprice, like same way that I realized that Morgan was perfect for Mr. Fine, I was like, those are his parents. And so I found a way to kind of tell a story about Sean and Caprice, but also incorporate Coffee, who had been on my mind for a really long time. And it worked out really well. It worked out really well. It was dark though. It was dark. It took me to a very dark place. I don't think I'm gonna write a book like Fast for a very long time.
But
I say that now, but I probably could have
well,
to.
but you said it was dark. And yes,
Yeah.
it it could it it very well was. However, there was just so much insight. There was so much healing. There was so much growth. Um, Sean was everything, everything. And so just to witness um this black boy doing this, this black magic of being a hero that he really and truly didn't have the means of being, right? But that didn't stop anything. It was like, I got this. And then for them to drift so far apart, that was hard for me. That was hard to witness that they actually ended up, because I was like, okay, I know this ain't nowhere near over. Because if you've read Fast is pretty thick. That's one of my books I've got to have paperback. But it was nice to see that Capri used her own healing to serve and to heal others. You know, when Phil came into the place, the organization she and that she and her colleagues actually came together to have, that was amazing. And her relationship with is it pronounced coffee like the drink? Because you know me,
Yeah, it's pronounced coffee like the drink.
I mispronounce. He was amazing, and his other personality.
They were a hoot.
They were definitely a hoot. They were definitely a hoot. I have I've truly enjoyed your entire catalog. Like I said, I'm fangirling because you are one of my faves. I I know I probably drove you nuts when Garden of Eden came out.
Never.
And we did the Sister Girl uh conversation. You were being interviewed in the Sister Girl book club. And that's where I first encountered you personally, even though we was doing the comments and stuff. And, you know, that whole experience of New Orleans was just everything. And the depth that you wrote, the way you articulated the culture of New Orleans for our elders, the old lady that ended up, you know, passing away or what have you, from our elders, the food, the music, even there were some spaces I could like literally to date, if I go down there, I associate it with Millie's book. I'm just
like that always kind of like weirds me out because some of those places were genuinely made up. So like I didn't know that there was a hotel that could be like comparable to I forgot what I called it. The Montclair. I didn't think that there
yeah,
was a
the
hotel that could
Montclair,
be right. I didn't know that any of those places like were similar to places that were
the
real.
church, that was across, well, I say across the river, and then the houses on St. Charles. I remember this so vaguely, and even the fact that um, what's his name? I can't remember.
Andrew?
Andrew lived, Drew is what I wanted to call him. I didn't want to call him Andrew. Drew lived around Chapatulas and in that area, in the warehouse district. It just was all, I could visualize it. It didn't have to be a place, but I made it a place. In my mind, it all exists. So
I
when I
just realized how to pronounce Chapatulas. I've been
really,
pronouncing it wrong the entire time.
how were
I've
you
been
pronounce?
pronouncing it with the T to Chapatulas.
Oh, to chat. Yeah, there are so many river streets and everything else. Child, it took me years to pronounce. So don't feel bad. And I was born and raised in the book. So believe you me, what if any projects are you working on now?
Right now, I am trying to work on this. I don't know if I could give too much about it away because, like, I know I shared one project with you. That's not my next project. My next project, I'm worried about sharing it because I keep changing my mind. But it's not a bodyguard romance. It's something like a bodyguard romance because he's retired. He's a retired bodyguard. Well, how do I say this without giving too much away? Okay, I'll just give you the summary. So, a girl's father dies, right? And she's at the reading of her father's will, and her father leaves everything to his bodyguard and her close to nothing. And that's the general premise of the story. You'll have to read it
Yeah,
to find out more.
that sounds like a shit starter there.
Yeah.
All hell will break loose. Listen. Yeah, that's
It's gonna
really, you have such an imagination. You have such an imagination. And I want you to know on behalf of the readers, especially of Bourbon Street Bookers, we are truly fans. We're so proud of you. We're so proud of the work that you do. We love you. We love how you're so humble, you're so meek and mild. And it's like Girl, you the shit. If nobody
Stop.
told you, you are all that and a bag of chips, okay? Doritos. We're quite the kid. Let's see. So, are there anything that you want the readers to know about you?
Um, I mean, there's an elephant in the room, but
You're
I
like
took a long, I
you're
took a
like
long,
perfect.
long break.
Yeah, you're
I
like this
am a
perfectionist
perfectionist,
sometimes. And I feel like sometimes you go so hard on yourself. If you guys read the newsletter, Millie describes herself as a weirdo. That's what she says in her bio, right? If you went to her
but
website,
that's not derogatory where I come from. Like being weird is not like the
I
worst thing
know,
in the
unique.
world.
Yeah,
Right.
I get it. But I'm like, does she know how amazing she is? Her uniqueness is what draws people to you. It's like, because I know for me, it's like knowing Millie has a way with words. It's like you're intimate with words and the way you can articulate things, which I just learned today talking to Millie that Millie speaks another language. How many languages do you speak?
I speak English. My first language was Haitian Creole, and I speak conversational French.
No
But
Spanish? No
I think
Espanol? You're in
well,
Florida?
well, being in South Florida, you know, a little bit of Spanish, but I don't want to say that I speak Spanish and then someone starts speaking Spanish to me and I look silly, you know. So like I never claim the Spanish, but if I get like a car with like a Spanish speaking driver, which happens a lot in Miami, like I can ask them to put the window down.
Hey, that's way more than I can do. And it's so funny because my first experience in Texas after Katrina, I got approached
Mm-hmm.
quite a few times with people assuming I was Hispanic. Well,
You do kind of look a little Dominican.
this black girl will open her mouth and remove all doubt, okay? So, I have I learned I've taken Spanish quite a few times throughout my academic years, even in college. So I wrote it well, and I know how to use Google to interpret. To interpret. As a matter of fact, I worked for the Census Bureau and had to do some interviews in Spanish. Child, between what the prompts read and what Google told me to say, I got a couple of words down. I got a couple of words down. So your experiences, most of your books are actually in Florida. Have you desired to travel or to do anything to give you some more experiences, to give your characters some additional uh, locations?
If I was to do another location, like doing New Orleans was one of the things that made it such a grueling task was the research.
I'm
Having
sure.
to get because I'm one of those people who if I don't get the details right, I don't believe it. And if I don't believe it, it doesn't feel right. And so like I've always wanted to do a book based in California. And I
Mhm.
tried to do that with 1 billion reasons, but it didn't work because the research wasn't there. So like I don't even consider
Yeah,
that
they
to
came
be
back pretty quick.
right. They went back to Miami very soon because I was like, I don't think I could do California without ever going to California. But that's one of the places that I would love to write a book based in Atlanta, definitely New York. But I have to go to more of these places to actually write about them. The reason why I'm so comfortable with Florida is because like I've lived in Florida, like
Hmm.
Orlando, Miami, and Broward. So it's like I'm familiar with those places and I can write about them very well. But other places I get kind of stuck on the details and that stops me from finishing the work.
Was I the only person to tell you the depth that you knew of New Orleans? It felt like you had been there.
Um, no, because I remember other people from New Orleans, when I told them I've never been to New Orleans, they were also shocked. But it documentaries, man, they help. They help. And American Horror Story season 3 that took place in New Orleans. That's where I got the St. Charles Avenue houses idea from. So,
Ooh, that was clever.
hmm
Look, the way you did the research, I listen, you dug. You dug in because I was like, your writing is just impressive. I really felt like, at that
thank
particular
you.
time, like I was home, which I was at home, but I mean, being able to read your story and feel like you had experienced New Orleans for yourself. And even like I said, down to the depth of the culture um of that. Should we expect anything else from in Kindle Villa? What was that experience like
Um,
for you?
the deadlines, the weekly deadlines,
Oh, so
they
you
kept
are
me
obligated
consistent.
to do it every week.
I'm not obligated, but I promised that I would, so
Okay.
I had to keep that promise. But the weekly deadlines kept me consistent, which I liked, but I also felt like some of my best work is written when I don't have a deadline. So I probably would go back for shorter form writing, but for long form writing, probably not. I think I'm gonna stick with Kindle Unlimited and just the Kindle store.
What's your
Hmm
strategy to writing? Do you write with an outline or do you have like bits and pieces of notes that you pull together, a big notebook? How do you typically write?
Very disorganized. I'm sad to say. The books they come to me in like pieces. So like if like I'll use an example fast, for example. When I thought of Sean and Caprice's love story, one of the first scenes that I wrote was the scene on the boat where Sean says that when Caprice feels bad, he feels bad with her. And that was kind of central to their relationship for the rest of the book because I knew that's something that he says to her in the future. And so when they're kids, the first time she ever cries in front of him, he starts crying too because I know at the end of the book he says that's always going to happen. And so I like getting my books out of order because it makes everything full circle towards the end.
Mm,
But I've never gotten a book in chronological order. In the Garden of Eden, the first scene that I wrote was the scene where Drew takes her to his apartment and he begins painting her. The Collide series, the first scene that I wrote was the scene where Lauren gets brought to Kane's house by Swiss and Rome. So it's always out of order, and then I have to go back and write the beginning after I've written the middle. Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And it makes sense. It makes sense because it's like if you begin with the end in mind, right? Steve
hmm
Covey, then it helps you to develop a greater foundation from the beginning to bring you right back to where you need to be. It's like, hey, this is where we're trying to get to, so we need to build up to that. So that
But
makes a
where
lot of sense.
Right, but where it leaves you stumped is sometimes you have a concept, but you have absolutely no idea what happens in the middle. So you like for me, writing from beginning to end is extremely uncomfortable because I feel like I'm going in blind because I don't outline for the most part, but I usually have some sort of idea of where I'm going because I don't usually write at the beginning. In the book that I'm writing now, the kind of the concept of the book like the whole art, like the overarching concept, that the one that makes the book stand out is the whole will thing, right? And that happens in the first or second chapter. So I'm basically writing blind from chapters 3 through wherever it ends. And that has been a challenge, but it's been fun kind of getting to know these characters. But I'm like hoping I'll go to sleep one night and I'll just dream up chapter 25 so that I can have an easier time writing chapters 3 through 24, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, we certainly are looking forward to more of your work in the future. Is there anything you want to say to your readers before we go tonight?
Thank you so much for waiting for me. I know that I take my sweet time. I say that a lot, but I hope that when I do put something out, you guys are satisfied.
And I want to say this to you. There's so many authors out there. Love Belvin is one. Johnny Sherry. These are great authors, and we wait. We wait. There are a lot of authors that take their time writing, which for me, I think it's important. You're an independent author, so therefore you don't have any deadlines. You set them yourself. I just want to be able to encourage you to always write, to always, come out, take your time, bring us your best. And I know sometimes we get a little anxious as readers because when we get excited about a good book, I've heard so many authors say, I put out this book over 500 pages and it's like nothing. They absorb it. The author Nina is another one. Have you ever read her work?
I On Us. I read On Us,
Yeah.
the first book.
Okay. So then she'll put out her work and then she'll disappear for a while because she too, you have to go back and fill yourself up, whether it's your energy,
Mm-hmm.
your time, your mental space capacity, you need to just disconnect, and that's exactly the expectation is that you can give us your best by being your best, by giving yourself your best. Give yourself some grace
Right.
and take time. Do you do you have a favorite author?
Right now, well, my forever favorite is always going to be Love Belvin. But right now, you know what's funny? I've been reading a lot of Harry Potter. I'm about to nerd out on you. I've been reading so much Harry Potter fan fiction, and I don't have a favorite author who writes fan fiction, but I have a favorite like pairing. I'm not gonna say it. This is way too nerdy. But I just know that I've been reading lots of Harry Potter fan fiction, and that's what's been filling my cup lately as far as reading goes. I
Well,
know, I
there you
know.
have it, Harry Potter. I have so many friends my age that are Harry Potter fans. Um, One of my girls from high school, she even traveled for the whole Harry Potter thing, the experience and all. So trust me, it does not surprise me. But I want to thank you again. Thank you for joining me tonight, for trusting me um, to basically present the best my Millie I could. I want to thank you for
Thank you for having me.
it's truly my honor, it's my pleasure. I want to thank you for always showing up with your best work because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're giving us your best. So readers,
Thank you.
I will make sure you guys have more access to my Millie and her work and make sure that we can continue to encourage her. Follow Millie on her Instagram page. Millie has a website. Um, she's also on Facebook. She's always on Twitter. You can find her
I don't
there.
usually I'm not usually on social media anymore for the most part, but I still am definitely using Instagram and Twitter.
There you have it. There you have it. But thank you
Hmm.
guys for watching us, for following us. Millie, stick around. And we will definitely be seeing you guys next month with our next guest. Thank you.
Thank you.